Bonjour Jean-François, ça va?
Ça va bien, et
Bon.
vous?
Yeah, not bad. Je vais commencer with my conversation with Jean-Yves Duclos, Federal Public Services and Procurement Minister, so you're aware of what's going on. A
Yep.
letter sent from Ottawa to Jean-François Roberge, basically asking Quebec, hey, you know all that money we gave you and you were going to have French classes? Where did it go? What do you think?
Well, I think it's a purely political ploy that certainly tells us a lot about the discontentment of the federal Liberals toward the CAQ government, because it is true that since the signature of the Quebec-Canada agreement on immigration, Ottawa sends every year a substantial amount. It's about $730 million a year for francization and integration. In fact, there are 6 different things that the Quebec government needs to do. And every year, the Quebec government provides an accounting of the spending of all this money. It's not only French classes, it's education, health, social services, everything that is provided to immigrants. Now, this was never an issue, but Mark Miller started saying that the money was not correctly spent about 6 months ago, never saying exactly what he meant by that. And now Jean-Yves Duclos is piling on. So this accounting does exist. You may say that it's a lot of money. Is it too much? Other provinces don't have it, but that's the agreement. And basically, the reality is that the current Quebec government has increased substantially the amount of money they're investing in French classes, even though they cannot keep up with the demand and seem to have mismanaged the budgets as we see closing of classes here and there in the province.
Is it the mismanagement of it, Jean-François, or is it simply the fact they decided, you know what, we don't want to spend the money on this anymore, which is hypocritical when you consider that this is a government that says, oh, hey, you want to come to Quebec, you need to learn French, it's important to learn French. If that's your mission or if that's your platform, why would you cut classes?
Well, it really doesn't look good. I mean, this is an incredibly badly handled thing, but we have no reason to doubt the numbers that they've been giving us. I mean, the number of people going to French classes has increased from 10,000 a year to 60,000 now, and it's going to be more this year. It's clear in the credits and the budget that the budget did increase threefold since the CAQ has been there. But what they're saying, and it's hard to take, is that the reason why schools are closing classes now is that because they spent 100% of their budget during the 6 first months, and they didn't spread it out over the year, which to me, when I've been in government, I've never seen that before. I mean, usually, administrators do have some knowledge of how to spread their budget during your year, but that's the explanation that the government is giving.
Okay, well, we'll see. If I know that Jean-François Roberge did respond and basically said what you'd expect, that this is creating unnecessary confusion, fear, whatever else it was. So I'm not sure that this actually goes anywhere. But let me move on and talk about the other story today. Last I checked, the federal government, the Liberal government, still stands, despite what Yves-François Blanchet had threatened to do, which was bring the Liberals down. I'm curious, I know we talked about this a couple of weeks ago when he first set that deadline of October 29th. But you know what? It's over. It's past. Is this still a thing, or is this just showboating for no reason?
Well, it's clear that the Conservatives want the government to fall. The Bloc Québécois didn't want the government to fall, and they said, well, if you give us, the increase for pensioners and the supply side law, we're going to keep you up. If not, we're going to vote with the Conservatives. Now, they've kept their promise. Now they're saying, okay, the date has passed. We're willing to vote with the Conservatives to overthrow the government. So now it's back to the NDP, who made an incredible show of tearing up their agreement that was in September. And, well, doesn't mean that they want the government to fall. So simply said, no, we're going to keep the government in power. And their argument is that they're trying to get things for Canadians in exchange, but we don't know what things that they're now asking for in exchange for propping up the government. There's nothing new on the table. There's a continuing work on some of the issues that they had pushed for and achieved in the past. But it seems to weaken the position of the NDP, saying, well, we're tearing up an agreement. We think the Trudeau government is not worthy of our support, but we'll still vote to keep it on.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, Jean-François, I wonder who Yves-François or who the Bloc Québécois have more contempt for, the Conservatives or the Liberals?
Well, what they have achieved on this issue is that they have made themselves much more visible in favor of pensioners in Quebec and of rurality. And these are voting blocs that are very, very present on voting day. And there were among the pensioners organizations like the FADOC and all that, a great mobilization around what the bloc was asking for. And although they haven't delivered, they have become the steadfast defender of these issues. And I think politically for them, it's going to give them an edge come election day.
I want to touch on one last thing, and I should have mentioned this before. Did you happen to see today's piece, José Legault in the Journal de Montréal?
Yeah.
So she writes, she no longer recognizes Quebec. She says our public institutions have fallen so far that the public no longer trusts or relies upon its government to take care of them. Do you share that opinion?
Well, there are certainly an erosion of trust in Quebec's main services, and that's a fact, and it's true for Canadian services as well. But this is an erosion of trust and an erosion of the ability of a new government, whether it's the CAQ or any other, that will come to the next election and say we'll fix healthcare. Nobody will believe them, and then that's a sad assessment of things.
Which, to your point, it doesn't matter who that next government is, right? It's such a big problem, and it has been for so long. It seems unfixable.
It seems unfixable, but the underlying truth is that, and it's true here in France and anywhere, the hospitals are doing more faster, more cost effectively to treat people than they ever did in the past. But the number of people showing up, and I'm not talking about immigration, is just simply that when you went to the hospital at 63 or 65, at some time you died, and now you're being treated. So you go back at 70, 72, 75, 80, 83. And so because the health services is good at not letting you die, the same people go back and back and back. And so the ability of the system to keep up with extended demand that they themselves create because they're better at it, they seem never to catch up.
You're not sort of buying into this idea that if that's the case, the way you describe it right now, you're right, but our population is aging, right? That you think this was the CAQ's idea a while ago. I thought they dropped this idea that doctors should focus on treating people who are sick, and those of you who are looking for a doctor just to have a consultation, you should be at the bottom of the list.
No, I think this is just a way of sharing dirt or sharing the inability to have correct, because in a healthy health system, prevention is as important as curative medicine, and prevention, having people that are okay but see their doctors every year or every 2 years for a checkup, is part of how you bring the cost down. So in this emergency situation where there's not enough, I would have accepted the fact that new inscriptions for family doctors would be targeted to those who are already in ill health. But to come back and tell that those who have a family doctor this will be taken away is not only a bad health decision, but it's really bad politics.
You know, you mentioned, so you were in government, you know how things work. Do you think let's deal with healthcare since that's what we're talking about here. Do you ever envision a place where we can go ahead and say, okay, we fixed the system, it's better now, and we can stop watching things get progressively worse?
I can no longer tell you that I believe that.
That's pretty grim.
Yeah, but we all know that once we're in the system, and I've lived through that with some of my children, the service is superb. Mm-hmm. It is superb. Once you're in, it's superb.
All right, we will leave it at that. Jean-François, merci.
Merci.
Talk to you soon.